Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the Great Nicobar Infrastructure Project that is going to basically be developed on the Great Nicobar Islands, the southernmost island of the Andaman Nicobar Island chain. Now, the project is facing a lot of backlash and also opposition, especially by the main opposition party of India, that is the Congress party, especially related to the ecological concerns that this project has raised. On the other hand, or we can say on the positive side, project can obviously have a very good strategic importance for India, for India's defense purposes, and how the balance need to be achieved between these two is something that we are going to discuss in this particular video. But first of all, to give you the brief idea about why this project has been making the news headline. So very recently, the Congress party has described the proposed 72,000 crore, that is the overall this we can say the worth of this project or infrastructure upgrade that the government is trying to achieve at the Great Nicobar Island as a grave threat to the island's indigenous community, indigenous inhabitants. Largely we have Shompen tribes as well as Nicobarese tribe, as well as the fragile ecosystem of the island. And also the Congress party due to this has demanded immediate suspension of all the clearances that the project has received from various ministries in past 1 or 2 years. And on the other side, it has suggested that before we can initiate or start developing such a large scale project, we should thoroughly and impartially review the proposal and proposed project, including by the parliamentary committees concerned. So this is why the project has again been made, has been making the news headlines. Now, if we try to understand about the project itself, so first of all, the Great Nicobar project covers the Great Nicobar Island, that is the southernmost island of Andaman Nicobar chain. If you take a look at the map of Andaman Nicobar Island, it is about an island group that consists of about 836 islands. Out of that, roughly 31 islands are inhabited one and remaining are uninhabited. Now, the island group itself is divided into two parts. The northern part is called as Andaman group and the southern part is called as Nicobar group. Now, Andaman group and Nicobar group are divided by a water body that is referred as 10-degree channel. So, if you look closely, it is in the Nicobar group, the southernmost island, which is also the largest island of Nicobar group, is referred as Great Nicobar. So, that is where the project is going to basically be developed. So, this project overall, as we have discussed, the cost of the project is whopping INR 72,000 crore rupees, and development will happen in two different phases, two different stages. The first phase of the project will cost somewhere about 19,000 crore and is envisioned to be completed in next 4 years, that is by the end of year 2028. If we talk about the second phase of the project, it will be basically after 2028 and it will be basically focused on development of infrastructure. Now, when we talk about infrastructure, 3-4 major types of infrastructure has been highlighted here. First, there will be development of a township for the employees, for the people who will be working and living for the project, that will spread over area of about 149 square kilometer overall project. If we talk about 8.45 square kilometer of area will be something that has been marked for the development of airport with a capacity of roughly 4,000, we can say, people per day. Then we have about container transshipment terminal that will be developed over an area of 7.66 square kilometer, and over an area of 0.4 square kilometer there is also proposal to develop a gas power plant or gas based power plant. So these are the basic highlights of the Great Nicobar project. Now, if you go slightly into more detail, covering an area of 166 square kilometers, the first phase, as we discussed, is between 2021 to 2036, and second phase of the development will happen between 2037 to 2051. Now, the first major project highlight is the development of international container transshipment terminal with a total expected capacity of 14.2 million TEUs, where TEUs refer to the basically that this container unit, that is the term in which the volume of the shipments, container shipments, are measured. Similarly, a greenfield international airport. Greenfield means from the scratch a new airport has to be developed on a vacant land, and that will have a capacity of roughly handling 4,000 passengers on a daily basis. And then a township and a gas and solar power plant. These are the three major highlights of the Great Nicobar project. Now, let us try to understand briefly about the geography of the Great Nicobar Islands also. So, Great Nicobar, as you can see, is the southernmost and the largest of the Nicobar Island, as we can see from the picture here. The Nicobar Island has several other islands also, such as Little Nicobar, Nankauri, Bampoka, and we have Tarasa Dweep, Car Nicobar, and these are the major islands. Now, it is on the southernmost part of Great Nicobar where you will find the southernmost tip of India, that is referred as Indra Point. And basically from Indra Point, just roughly at a distance of 150 kilometers, you will find the largest island of Indonesia, that is Sumatra. So a sparsely inhabited, overall we can say, area of 910 square kilometer patch of an island, mainly having tropical rainforest as far as its vegetation is concerned in southeastern Bay of Bengal. That is how we can describe the Great Nicobar Island. If you look at the ecology of this island, so this is the map that represents the ecology. Overall, the entire Great Nicobar Island has one biosphere reserve, that is called as Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserve. And on the map, as you can see, the entire green area basically is the area covered under Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserve. And this Biosphere Reserve itself includes two different national parks. We have Galatia National Park, and the second one is the Campbell Bay National Park. And apart from that, this area is what we can say is a kind of reserved buffer zone. And it is a southern region of the island where basically some of the habitations, some of the individuals reside. Also, you have to keep in mind that the highest peak or highest point of the Great Nicobar Island is what is referred as Mount Thuiler. So it is a very, very important place here and very important from geography point of view. Also, if we talk about Andaman Nicobar Islands, what we generally see is the height decreases from north to south. So Andaman Islands are slightly higher in elevation if you measure it from sea level, while the Nicobar Islands are lesser in elevation from the sea level. Now, what about the Great Nicobar Islands and the inhabitants? So, as we have discussed, there are mainly two tribes who reside on this island. One are the Shompen tribe and other are the Nicobarese tribe. The entire Great Nicobar Island was given a status of biosphere reserve in year 1989, and also due to its ecological significance, it was year 2013 when it was included in UNESCO's Man and Biosphere Reserve program. So, before understanding that why there is a concern being raised about this project, let us try to understand the significance and importance of the project for India. So, first of all, if you look at it from the infrastructural point of view, the location of the island itself is something that we have to keep in mind. For example, if we talk about the south, if we talk about this island, particular island, we can see that it is situated very close to the Malacca Strait. Malacca Strait is the main waterway that connects the Indian Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, and also is example of major choke point. For example, this is the Strait of Malacca, and somewhere around this area, that is where the Great Nicobar Island is situated. Second, if we talk about the development of container transport terminal, that is one of the major aim or objectives of the project. It is expected that after development of sub-container terminal, as the Great Nicobar Island lies somewhere in the strategic point between the Pacific Ocean and the Indian Ocean, it will help it to participate in the regional as well as global maritime economy by becoming a major player in cargo transshipment. Thus, it will earn a lot of revenues for the government of India, as well as more development we can see on the other islands of the Andaman Nicobar also, based on the revenue that we will be able to generate. Third, greenfield city. The development of such cities and the projects as well as the airports will tap into both the maritime as well as tourism potential of the island, because Andaman Nicobar Island has a huge tourism potential. The problem is, due to lack of connectivity, only few islands are there where the Indian tourists are able to go, and also because the airports are less, the number of air flights are less, the ticket costs are very, very expensive. So once few more airports are able to develop here, more and more people will be able to enter into the Andaman Nicobar, and that will also help boost the demand of the infrastructure, and that will again increase the overall revenue and earning of the islands. Now, apart from this, if we talk about the strategic significance of the island, this also something we can highlight based on the location of Great Nicobar Island. For example, If you talk about this, here we have the Great Nicobar Island. So if you measure from here, just at a distance of roughly 55 kilometers, you have the Coco Islands of Myanmar. At a distance of roughly 150-160 kilometers, you have the Sumatra Islands of Indonesia. And just a distance of 550 kilometers, you have the Phuket, that is in Thailand. And as we discussed, this also is very close to the Strait of Malacca. So keeping that in mind, what we can say is that the Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean region are of vital strategic and security interest to India, as the Chinese People's Liberation Army, or PLA as it is called, and the Navy wing of the army is seeking to expand its footprint across the entire Indian Ocean region. And also there is a buildup of Chinese maritime forces that we are seeing in the Indian Ocean region, especially if we talk about Indo-Pacific choke points, whether it is the Strait of Malacca, whether it is Strait of Sunda, or whether it is the Lombok Strait. And the China's military facility is also being developed at a rapid pace around the areas, and the best example of this is we can see the development of Chinese military facility in the Coco Island of Myanmar. So all this raises a security concern for India in the coming future, and to counter it, to tackle it, India also need to have a proper and adequate infrastructure in case India and China have some sort of adversary relationship in the military terms. This is again an area showing the strategic importance of this region. As we discussed, this is Strait of Malacca, the first major choke point. Second is Sunda Strait, and third we have is the Lombok Strait that provides connectivity across Indian and Pacific Ocean. And also these regions are very important to China because most of Chinese trade, especially we talk about the oil and gas on which China is largely dependent upon, passes through these three straits between Indian and Pacific Ocean. So the question is that what is the concerns about the project? Now concerns we can understand from three perspectives. First is the concern related to the ecology of the region, because to make sure that this project takes off and is completed, it is believed that more than 850,000 trees need to be cut and fell off. Also, the project will lead to loss of 12 to 20 hectares of mangrove forest. Obviously, the destruction of forest will result into the destruction of the habitat and the resulting loss of the life of the animals and dependent upon it. So this will also lead to a considerable loss of coral reefs and will claim over 298 hectares of the seabed also. The second concern is related to the rights of tribal, because many experts argue that potentially the project will have a devastating impact on the Shompen, which is the major inhabitant of this tribe, and also they are categorized as a particularly vulnerable tribal group of hunting gathering community. So the project will obviously limit the extent of hunting and gathering as the forest area will diminish. That can cause the loss of population, overall loss of life of the tribals, and obviously they have very low population as they are PVTG. They can in the end, if the proper measures are not taken, adequate measures are not taken, they can even go extinct. And last is something that the effect will see on the major animal species that we find in the Great Nicobar Island. For example, the Nicobarese megapod or the leatherback turtles being the major ones. So it is on these grounds the Congress party has objected and asked to revoke the what we can call as the approvals and again have a fresh look on the project. Now, what we can say that what is the future all about if we talk about this project? So, obviously, when the matter was referred to the National Green Tribunal, more precisely the Kolkata bench of the National Green Tribunal, it had declined to interfere with the environmental and forest clearances that were granted for this project. But on the other hand, Tribunal, however, has ordered that a high-powered committee should be constituted and look into the clearances that were given. Now, the high-powered committee, what report they have published or what report they have submitted, this is something that information is not available for the general public. So that is all about this particular video. I hope you understood about the significance and concerns related to the Great Nicobar project. Thank you very much.